Okay, so I'm Evgenia. I'm the Director of University Partnerships here at Coursera, working with universities in Central and Eastern Europe. And currently we are engaged in multiple projects with public and private universities. And as I mentioned, today I will be moderating this session, and I hope we have a very relaxing and interesting conversation. So it would be great if since there are not that many of us, if you introduce yourself via chat by typing in or just unmuting yourself and switching on your video. Yeah, and maybe if you feel more comfortable, you can type this in the chat, who you are, which university organization you're representing. I can see, maybe let me start with the screen, how it looks like on my monitor. It's Inga Slisarenko. Yeah. Inga.
Yes. Hello, Evgenia.
Yes, hello, Inga.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you see me via camera. It's actually on, but
unfortunately, we cannot see you, but we can perfectly well hear you. It will be great to find out a little bit more about you.
Yes, thank you very much.
So can you please present yourself?
Okay, so I'm referring to the participant, and I would like to say hello. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate. I'm actually associate professor at Tomsk Polytechnic University, Russia. And part of my interest is also blended learning and engineering education in modern times, and what solutions can be taken to upgrade our classes actually via hybrid and blended and online learning, and what is ahead, what are the tendencies for the education to develop if this is very much influenced by social-economic factors and pandemic as well, how this influences students' flows and what's going on in terms of university enrollments, especially in engineering programs.
Engineering programs. That's yes. Perfect. Okay, let's then make sure that we're coming back to this topic, and let's discuss what's going on at Tomsk Polytechnic University in Russia. What are the best practices right now for you? Okay, yeah, Lily, I can see your message. Thank you so much. And will you please be introducing yourself, if you have such an opportunity? Okay, and yeah, the next person that I see on my screen is Ivan Bereda. Ivan, do you have an opportunity to introduce yourself and to mention what are the topics of interest for you today?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, I think you are not seeing me. Maybe I can activate my camera. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
hi,
nice
good morning.
Yeah.
Well, I was not expecting to participate so actively. I was just wanting to learn from the experience of other universities. I'm the Deputy Vice Rector for Planning and Quality of the Jaume I University in Spain. We are a small university, and it's 100% on campus. So the pandemic was quite of a shock for us. We have always been a quite technological university in terms of digitalization in Spain. We're a young university, and we were like well prepared technically for going hybrid, but not so well prepared with the tools to bring the classroom to the students at home. So this has been quite hard, and now we are returning to presence, to 100% presence. But once you have tried all these tools, all these video meetings, video recordings, virtual tutorials, all of this, you feel there is something to it too, that the students could really profit, take advantage of sometimes being at home and not having to come to the class. So there is a bit of this debate, to which extent should we totally push towards the old situation and forget about all what we did during the pandemics, and to what extent could we allow also students who are working or who don't want to come to class, or whatever the reason, they would like to opt for more online experiences.
Thank you, Ivan. And do I pronounce the name correctly?
Well, in Spanish it would be Ivan, but
Ivan.
in English it's totally correct.
Oh no, then it's like
I'm used to it. It's not a problem.
No, I was hesitating. You see, my mother tongue is Russian, so in Russian it would also be Ivan. So
in Spanish it's Ivan.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. And actually, the target for today's meeting is to have this conversation and to discuss with each other what are some of the things that you've been observing, because you are the people in the field. I would say you're the ones who are dealing with this on a daily basis, and we're just bringing you together to brainstorm and discuss and exchange experiences. So thank you for the introduction. And we have Piotr as well. Yeah, Piotr or Lily, who can be next, because Lily, you turned on your camera. I guess you're ready now. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for explaining the context of the meeting, and apologies, I missed that. I think I was sitting here waiting for someone to present all the answers to me. Yeah, I'm Lily Rumsey. I'm Director of International Relations at University of Bath. And for me, it'd be incredibly interesting to understand how European universities are engaging in two ways. One, you know, UK universities have seen a decline in European students coming to the UK, and that's certainly related to international fee regime. And I think there is a conversation there about how we engage with European students. And the second piece is with the loss of Erasmus and the implementation of the Turing scheme and what that means for engagement with UK universities, and the fact that Turing is no longer just European focused, it is a global focus, and what that means for our relationships with the European partners. So those two themes would be very interesting to discuss with counterparts on the call.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Lily, for introducing yourself. And I guess Bath is a great place to be at right now, at any point of the time. I really enjoy traveling to Bath. Thank you so much, Lily. And we have Piotr as well. Piotr, do you feel comfortable introducing yourself, or give us a sign on the chat if you would prefer doing this on chat? Okay, it's not obvious, and we understand like many people are still working from home, and sometimes it's more comfortable to keep your camera off. But the first question that I wanted to start with today, and it's not a question, it's more like something to discuss and think about, is partially based on my experience. So some time ago, I was reading an interesting article, and they were mentioning that the classical classroom, like old-fashioned classroom, it was to some extent, if you think about this, reflecting the setup that the factories would have in the past, or for instance, some kind of plants would have in the past, like you have desks, and they like people are sitting at their desk and they're doing something and they're working. And today we see that the job environment is changing so much. For instance, I joined Coursera January this year. The entire hiring process happened online. So I got hired online and I started working from home. And I've never been to the office. I'm London-based, and 80% of my colleagues, they had exactly the same experience. And we're not talking only about Coursera, we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Spotify. More and more companies, they would allow people to work remotely, they would allow people to work from different locations. At the same time, to some extent, the classroom, the classical classroom stays the same. So the topic that I wanted to bring into the conversation is to what extent you think the teaching and learning experience can reflect what graduates will and should anticipate once they start working, once they get employed. how do we make sure that they're prepared? And today, I guess Aune Valk from Tartu University, she was mentioning that COVID situation affected the most international students and first-year students. But I think last year students were heavily affected as well, because they used to one environment in terms of learning, and then in terms of the going through recruitment process and joining the job market, it changes so much. So what has been your experience so far, and what are your thoughts how we can transform teaching and learning so that it resembles job environment the most? Who would like to pick on this? Yeah, my question was like, do you experience the same at your universities? Have you conversations of this kind? And maybe, who would like to start talking about this topic?
I think, I mean, I can certainly talk from Bath perspective. I'm not sure if we've really thought about it, and maybe that's why there is a radio silence across my colleagues. I think that we work with industry and very closely, and we think about the skills that industry needs. And I think that we have shaped our programs around those discussions. I don't know if we've worked with industry subsequent to the pandemic and actually really thinking about how the recruitment landscape has changed and how perhaps, you know, our students will no longer be in physical spaces. I don't get a sense that we've started those conversations yet. So I think perhaps maybe your thinking is further advanced than perhaps, you know, our own application is at this stage. I just don't get a sense that we're having those conversations with industry yet. Not that they're, I'm sure we will be, but I just don't get a sense that we are at this time at Bath.
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Lily. It's interesting that the conversation haven't started yet, and I think we will anticipate something like this happening soon, because based on the conversations that I have with universities, some of they start thinking about what Ivan has just mentioned, since people has already had a taste of this different experience of blended and hybrid. They've seen advantages of some of these experiences, what things can be outsourced to online and what things should be kept in the classroom. So now universities are experimenting with the best practices, and based on your experience, what's working and what's not working, taking into consideration that learning is a social process. Maybe Ivan.
Well, I wanted to say that I totally agree with Lily, that we are always trying to update which are the competences that our students need. But with the pandemics, there was like a parenthesis. It was just an issue of survival. We had to find a way to go ahead and minimize the losses. And in the end, it was quite satisfactory. So we are happy with the result. We don't know if the employers are so happy. We still don't have this feedback about this new generation, the COVID generation, which enters the labor market, if they are in some way different. Because as you say, the students who already were with us for 3 years, 4 years, were already almost finishing. The impact was, of course, important, because they knew what the university was before, and then they saw what the university was at the pandemic time. But I think they had already acquired most of their competences. Like the last year is a year where they go to do practice in real firms, where they do assignments similar to the ones that they have done, only a bit more complicated. So they finished their teaching, but I don't think the last year is the most fundamental one. I don't think things changed. That their competences changed a lot because of this different last year. But what we are thinking now, related to the job market is that, of course, collaboration is always important. And now finding ways to collaborate online is probably the challenge. So already in the time of the pandemic, we had to think, how do we make our students collaborate while they are at home? They cannot meet together to do anything. They have to do everything online. And we found some solutions, like we could do online things that we never thought we would do. For instance, I'm an experimentalist, I'm an economist, I'm also a teacher, and I do experiments in classroom for research and in the classroom, and we always do it in a lab. We had never done it online, and we saw it was possible. In the beginning, a bit of a mess, but then we succeed in doing that. But the interaction online is always different to the interaction face-to-face. So that's something that I know that my colleagues, because I have seen in some forums, I am also a active member of these forums, on the Moodle forums or whatever, and they ask themselves, how do we make our students collaborate online when they cannot never meet in person? They have to do everything online. And I think that's what you were commenting. It's Eugenia, or how's the name?
Both of mine, yeah. Eugenia is also correct. Yeah.
Eugenia. Yeah. So that's the experience, that you are new in a company, you have lots of new colleagues, and you can only collaborate with them online, and that's hard. That's tough, and that's probably one of the challenges that we have now. We all teachers or professors who are mainly working in this competence, the work team, collaboration, they are facing big problems to deliver the experience they want to the students in order to prepare them for the job market.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. So to my understanding, one of the gaps that the faculty members are facing, well, one of the challenges that we're facing is how to make sure that students are collaborating and are actively engaged in teamwork, and they develop their social skills and their teamwork skills while they're working from home, while they're spending most of their time online. And for you, Inga, were these also the challenges that you faced? What were some of the other gaps that the new kind of teaching and learning brought, and what were some of the maybe best practices that you discovered, if any?
Again, many thanks for asking. Dear colleagues, especially for the new joined, I'm Inga Slisarenko from Tomsk Polytechnic University, Russia. Our university is one of the leading universities in engineering training of students. And actually, we are quite lucky to have a lot of technological solutions supporting our work in pre-pandemic situation. And colleagues do have the experience of working online in electronic courses and virtual simulations for students. We naturally have, as far as I know, kind of natural challenges of the time that students need to be organized in so-called hybrid model, so that they join some classes being online, part of the group online, part of the group in class. That's a separate methodology. That's part of my professional interest as well. And for some of the students, challenges that they cannot take actually laboratory works. So the university is rescheduling some laboratory works and doing some teaching formats like in a postponed version. And some international students are in their home countries. So we still need to figure out how we reorganize the curriculum, because many of them are in very practical programs that are very much dependent on experimental studies and actually visiting research and development institutions here in Tomsk or throughout the country. So that needs a little bit more further investigation and more detailed answers maybe can be given by my colleagues who are more into the field of working with the partners like industry or research and development organizations.
Thank you, Inga. Yes, this is something that I hear from engineering schools quite a lot, that the challenge that we are facing is lab kind of assignments where students they need to be present on the site. And I know it's a bit tricky question, but if you were in charge of decision-making for investments, where would you place your bets on? Where would you, what are some of the priorities that you think universities should think in terms of investments, where they should invest? I mean, from your personal point of view, you being part of the engineering school.
If I can follow what I've been saying now, is that most part of my work is actually working with colleagues offering training courses for them in methodology of teaching. And because we do have international students and degree programs that are run in English, that will be also English as a medium of delivery, taken into account specifics of subject-based courses for our colleagues. I would say in my professional activities, I encounter quite a challenge that we do have modern technology, and we do have plans for upgrading the technologies that we have. And currently, that's the moment when we probably, as a university, need to think about special software to regulate classroom activities, kind of pre-plan participation of some parts of the students cohort online and some parts of cohort in class. And that is related to the question of methodology of teaching, which is kind of interesting field by itself, and I see variations according to subject-specific courses that my colleagues are delivering, and as they are participants of my course, which is blended learning, that is going to start in 2 weeks from now. So I'm actually looking forward to see their solutions in pedagogy and in class design. So we know that the same subject really changes by its character when it's delivered online or in hybrid form or face-to-face. And there are some elements of certain subjects that cannot be substituted by online experience. So we need to have this kind of sort of the protocols, how to deal with this on the university-wide level. I'm not sure if I have actually answered the question you had.
Well, that's why I would not call them the questions. It's just like food for thought, right? Because it looks like all the universities were looking for these solutions, and this is the process that is currently happening. It's not something that just happened and then we are trying to organize the things. It's happening in the real time, and that's why we're bringing people together to have these conversations. And I doubt that there is a single expert who would be able to answer all the questions and to introduce some kind of structure, but it's definitely good to hear the common shared topics, and definitely pedagogy and methodology behind the modern ways of teaching and learning is the topic that we hear quite often at Coursera, and currently Coursera is investing into this topic as well. You know that part of our partnership is the access to some of our materials and the software that Coursera is offering. So that's why we would like to hear you, what is the need as well. And thank you so much, Inga. It's extremely interesting to hear about your experience, and I know that Tomsk Polytechnic is quite advanced in what you're doing, guys, based on my conversations with my colleagues, George Nikachev and the rest of the team. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we have some people who joined through the conversation, Andre and Luis. If you would like to introduce yourself, maybe as well, and mention what are the areas you are looking into in terms of new ways of teaching and learning, and what are some of the investment areas that you're currently focusing on or you would like to focus on. Maybe Andre, if you feel comfortable on unmuting yourself and joining our conversation. Or Luis, and then we have Neil as well. I guess it's not really possible. In this case, Andre Lider, Luis Castro, and Neil Ravenscroft, would be great if you introduce yourself via chat so that we know which universities you are representing, and we will keep going. We have just 3 minutes left, and maybe Ivan, I will pick on you again to just ask the same main question. If you had, I don't know what number we should put on this, let's say like €1 million to invest towards teaching and learning for your university, where would you focus at least at this point of the time?
I can tell you what we are doing actually, because it's let's say it's part of my business area. So yeah. We don't have €1 million to invest. Unfortunately, we have less than that. But what we are doing is buying like smart cameras who can follow the professor as he moves in the classroom, because the other ones were not so useful, because either you chose to focus on the professor or to focus on the blackboard, but that didn't work, of course. So we invested in these more flexible cameras who can follow you without doing anything. Even they could follow your face while you are moving without having to change your camera. You don't have to be your own operator to change the camera. And also in tactile screens, so that instead of using the blackboard, the professors can write in big screens, or not so big, like a standard computer screen, like 14 inches or something like that, with ball pens, with optical pens, so that this can be either beamed to the classroom or broadcasted to the students who are at home. So we invested quite a bit on technology, to all the classrooms, to upgrade all the classrooms that we have. Not to build a special classroom like a wow room with many screens, and we don't have that money to build these specialized rooms, but we upgraded all the rooms that we have, all the classrooms that we have, so that every professor in the faculty can deliver the class both for people who are present and to people who are connecting from online. We also, of course, as Inga said, we also organized classes for the teachers. We have to teach them how to use these resources, not only the technical part of it, but also the philosophy and how you teach a hybrid course. In the beginning, it was not possible to organize present seminars, so we had to organize it online, also by Zoom, or to provide courses on the Moodle, so that they could learn at their own rhythm, creating materials like databases where they can document themselves on different issues, like creating videos, or how do you schedule online tutorials, how do you use the Google Calendar, many different things that now we are all very aware of, and they were almost unknown by the majority of us 1 year ago. And personally, if I could take some of this million and use it to hire people, I would also hire some more computer scientists, because I experienced that in many cases for the students and for all the community members, that the applications that we use are smooth, user-friendly, that you can do from home whatever is needed. That you can use the virtual administration. It's also very important. So also from a managerial point of view, having good data to take good decisions is basically dependent on the data that you gather and on the database that you have. So I think my university needs more programmers dedicated to making better. They are not so bad, the ones that we have, but improving and making more and better applications for the students and for the university, and exploiting the data that we can have.
Okay, that's interesting, and that's thank you so much for mentioning this, for mentioning investment into people, and mentioning investment into collecting the data. It's another topic that reoccurring quite often, and I can see more and more universities actually applying for grants that would be focused around research and collecting data on learners' behavior, so that they can make the more educated decision making in terms of how to actually structure the process. Because to Inga's point, otherwise we are just walking in the dark and trying different tools without being able to collect all this data about learners' behavior on that side. Because from this side we can invest as much as we can, but we need to test what's going on, and we need to see what's the final outcome based on our decision making. So thank you so much for joining this session today. To some participants, it was unexpected that it was more of a conversation. We will make sure that the next time it's communicated more in this sense, but it will be great to stay connected. If any of you would like to continue the conversation, please feel free to connect to each other via professional social media. I would be happy to continue conversations with you personally as well, and hope you enjoy the rest of the event today.
See you, Evgenia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.